hello everyone, I'm Amelia. Today I'm going to explain to you exactly how to use your reins when you're riding and break it down in a way that makes sense and is understandable. And I think this is something that a lot of us struggle with, is figuring out okay, ideally you're mostly making your aids from your legs and your seat. I would say about 75% of the aid should be from your seat and your legs, only 25% from your reins. But your reins do serve an important role for steering your horse, for getting your horse to accept the contact, and for supporting the half halt if your horse doesn't listen to your seat. So give me a thumbs up. Let me know if you're excited to learn exactly how to use your reins in the comments. And also be sure to check out in the description, I have a free mini course on confidence. So if you're struggling with fear or show nerves, or you just want to figure out how to feel more confident in your riding, be sure to sign up for that mini course. So let's get started. I was reading an article actually by Christine Traurig, so I have to credit her for some of these ideas, and she just did an amazing job of breaking down exactly how to use the rein aids. Christine is an amazing coach and trainer, and so thank you for giving us some ideas about how to use your reins. So the first thing we're going to talk about are the turning aids, because I think that that's probably one of the most important uses for your reins. And so if you're walking along and you want to turn your horse, let me show you. Most people, if they're walking along and they want to turn, what most people do is that they just, if you're a beginner rider, you just kind of pull on the inside rein to get your horse to turn. So that's not really the most correct way of turning, because you saw what happened to Mercurio here is if you just pull on the inside rein, he overbends and kind of just falls that way. So in order to correctly turn your horse, what you want to do is you want to think about that your inside rein indicates which way you're going. So think about your inside rein like the blinker of your car. So you're going to use a little scrambled eggs, a little fingers on your left rein to indicate that you're turning to the left. But your outside rein actually executes the turn. So if I'm walking here, I'm going to use my fingers on the left rein, fingers, fingers. Now my right rein closes to execute that turn. It's important that your outside rein doesn't cross over the horse's neck. So my outside rein can be right up by the withers, but I don't want to have my outside rein actually cross over the horse's neck. So here I'm indicating with my left rein, right rein makes the turn. Now if I want to turn to the right, I'm indicating flexion with my right rein, and now my left hand makes the turn. Good boy. So again, I'm turning my blinker on with my right fingers, and then my outside rein executes the turn. And again, like I said before, you'll notice my left hand stays on the left side of the withers, my right hand stays on the right. I can open my right rein a little away from his neck. So if I want to turn to the right, I can do this. I can open the rein, but I don't want my left hand to do this, because if you use an indirect rein aid with your outside rein, then this is what happens. The horse looks to the outside and falls to the inside. In the Western movies, how they just neck rein the horses and the horse is just bent completely the wrong way, head straight up in the air, looking the wrong way. So you don't want to do that when you're turning your horse. And the same thing applies to the trot and the canter. So if say I'm going along here and I'm going to make a 20-meter circle, I'm going to indicate a little flexion with my inside rein, and then my outside hand stays by the withers to help turn that shoulder around. So I'm indicating flexion and I'm turning. I'm indicating and I'm turning with the outside rein. But again, the inside rein gives the horse the idea. The outside rein actually executes the turn. Good boy. So that's how you use your reins for turning. Now there's a few other uses of your reins. The first thing we're going to talk about is just that you want to always first start out with establishing contact and just having basically a neutral contact with your horse's mouth. What I mean by that is if I'm walking along here, First, I have to use my leg to push him up to the contact. And here, my hands are just following. So here, see how I'm just following the motion of his neck. In the walk, the horse has a little bit of a nod. So my hands are just following. Now from this neutral contact, you have two options. One option is that you can take back and have kind of a resisting aid. So I can tighten my elbows, and you really, when you do this, you start from your upper back. So if I want to start having more of a resistance in my rein, I think about my armpits, my upper back, and holding a little in my elbows, and that's going to cause your horse to stop or slow down. So again, following contact, resisting contact. Now the other option is you can go from a following contact to giving. So that's the other option. Here I'm following, now here I'm giving the rein. And those are kind of the two things that you can do. So when do you do what? Well, it depends. You know, sometimes you need to take a little more of a resisting contact to make a half halt come through or a transition come through. But then you always also want to test the self carriage by giving. You can give either on just the inside rein, which is the recommended. I recommend just giving the inside rein to test the self carriage, or you can give on both reins. So let me show you this in the canter, because I think that's where it's the most obvious. And first, always get your horse going forward from your leg. So now here is my following contact. You see how my elbows are bending and straightening. And this is kind of like just a neutral contact. I'm not really asking him to do anything. I'm doing a little bit my turning aids just to keep him here on the circle. Now, from here, what I might do is test the self-carriage by giving. So you see how here I have neutral following contact. Let me show you where the camera can see well. I'm gonna make sure he's round, and then I'm gonna give on that inside rein. You wanna give for like 3 or 4 steps and then take contact back. Otherwise, you would expect your horse to look for that. Now, if I hold a little more with my reins, so if I take a little more contact, then what you're going to see is this horse is probably going to break to the trot like that. So when you take a little more contact, unless you add leg at the same time, your horse is going to slow down. So here I'm following. Now I'm resisting, and my horse slows down. Good boy. It's really important to note that whatever you do with your hands needs to follow through from your seat and your legs, depending on what you want. Like I mentioned before, about 70% of your aids come from your legs and your reins. So if you're cantering along and you're in that neutral contact and you're just following, and suddenly you take more rein, if you want your horse to collect and stay in the canter, you need to add leg at the same time. Let me see if I can show you that. Ooh. So if I'm just cantering along here and I'm just following, and I want to collect the canter, you actually start the collection from your leg. So it's always leg, seat, then hand. So I'm going to bump him up a little from my leg. Then I'm going to think about, with my seat, holding a little in my tummy. Oops, there I did too much. Holding a little in my tummy, and then a little half halt, half halt, half halt, half halt, half halt, half halt. Good boy. You saw him collect a little. So it's really important that when you use that resisting rein aid, that you always start it from your leg to your seat to your hand. Good boy. You never just want to go right to your hand. Good boy. So that's always really important to note, is that the sequence of aids is always leg, seat, then rein. Because if you just go to the rein right away, your horse is going to resist and probably stop. So let me know in the comments if that was helpful. I think it's just a really good way to kind of think about how to use your rein aids. One thing that I didn't mention, which is super important, is that there should always be a straight line from your elbow to the horse's mouth. So you always want to start out in this correct position. If your hands are low and braced like this, that's going to cause stiffness. And you see how there's no longer a straight line from my elbow to the horse's mouth? If your hands are too high like this, again, that breaks the contact. So you want to imagine like your forearms are really long. You want to imagine like you could hold the horse's bit like this when you're riding them. And then whatever you're doing, whether you're turning or following the contact or giving or resisting, you always are maintaining that straight line from elbow to mouth, and that's what allows you to have an elastic and supple contact. So hopefully this helps. Again, I think as much as, we struggle with contact and connection, it's always important to remind yourself to ride more from your seat and your legs, because our brains are programmed to do everything with our hands, but when we ride, we need to use our seat and our legs more than our hands. So hopefully this was helpful. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out in the description. I have a mini course on rider position and also one on confidence there for you to sign up. So that's it for today. Good boy, Mercurio.